They called him the Diesel.
Crank up that diesel. Let's go.
He leaned across the table and he goes, "You need to get me back there. I'll make you famous."
And to Riggins, good hole. He's got the first down to the 40. He's gone. The 35, the 30, the 20. He's gone. He's gone.
It's Riggo the Diesel.
By the way, Mose, I did not tell Coach Gibbs that I'd make him famous. I think he'd make it happen. Yeah, you never know. Anyway, when I showed up here in '76, you were obviously still the kicker, and of course George Allen's tenure came to an end at the conclusion of the '77 season. And a guy that went to A&M, Jack Pardee, he's the head coach now, and you're still the kicker, and you went through that. And it goes down. I'd kind of like to get your take on that game down in Dallas in 1979, the last game of the season. And there was a bunch of commotion because Dallas had scored what appeared to be, well, it was the winning touchdown with just a few seconds left on the clock.
Yep.
But we got the ball back and got it down close. Walk us through how your opinion exactly how that all transpired, because you had a chance to kick a field goal. I don't know the distance, so you'll tell me. So walk me through that whole scenario.
Well, we got the ball back after they scored the touchdown. We were driving, and I think it was Donnie Warren that caught a pass and was trying to call. It was actually calling for a timeout, and they didn't give it to us. And we were Joe and I and we were already on the field, ready to set up, ready to kick a 52-yard field goal. But what makes it a really good story is that was the best year that I had as a kicker. That was my first Pro Bowl year, and I had already made, I guess, 3 or 4 52, 54-yard field goals that year, and that was, my mindset was, I'm ready to go. I can make this. And I still to this day think had they let us go ahead and kick that field goal, we would have won that game.
Yeah, and it just seemed like it was just it was literally seconds. And that was all the few more seconds that was all it was needed for you to get a shot.
And that was probably the best team that we had as Redskins, if you remember that. I think had we gone on, had we won that, I think if we'd won that, because Dallas ended up winning the Super Bowl that year. Remember that was, no. Jerry Smith dropped that pass in the.
No. I don't think that's right. I'll tell you what happened. If I recall this correctly, what I wanted to say, and I'll flesh it all the way out. But in my opinion, exactly what you said, that team was on the upswing, like you see teams, at the end of the year, and that are really playing well, and it's kind of like how Kansas City this past year, where. We just were getting better and better.
You could feel the momentum.
The thing a lot of people overlook is the fact had we won that game, it would have been just like 1983. All the home games would have been home field advantage for Washington, playing better and all that. I think we'd have had a shot. I think Los Angeles went to the Super Bowl that year and were beaten by the Pittsburgh Steelers.
Okay,
I think that's what it was.
I'm trying to remember because I just remember.
I think they got beat by Atlanta the next year or the next week. I think back in those days, I think Dallas had to play Atlanta. Something. I'm not 100% sure of that, but
your
I think
mind's
that's what
better
happened.
than mine.
Well,
which I don't.
If that's the case, we better go to the hospital right now. So that was one of those years where you look back and you go, how things could have changed had that happened, and you would have got a chance at that field goal. And then of course Jack Pardee leaves and Joe Gibbs shows up, and lo and behold, you're still the kicker. So now when Gibbs gets here, I'm trying to think. If you'd been here, you started in '74 was your first year here.
Yeah.
So and then Gibbs comes and he's here, and his first year was '81, I guess. So you'd been in the league for a while.
I'm trying to think, because he came.
His first year was '81 because that was I set out '80,
right.
And then I came back in '81 and started again, and it was his rookie year as a coach.
And he brought in, if you remember, a whole new different mindset, and I still think that's. And I think in pro sports today, because if you're good enough to even be signed as a player in any sport as a professional, you've got to be a good athlete. You've got to be a good player. So every team is really a good team. It's just the mindset of those individuals. And I think that's what Coach Gibbs did to us, is he changed the mindset that we had. If you remember, everything was always positive with him. Even, you remember when we lost those first 5 games his first year, every time he would come in, the first day on Monday morning, he would tell us, guys, forget about it. It's just a game. We'll get the next one. And remember, he was always positive. He was always positive about what we were going to do. He just said, stick together. We're going to figure this out. And after that fifth loss, the next, we just started rolling. Yeah. And we, for the next 12 years, the Redskins just kept rolling.
Yeah, I was always positive too back in those days. I was positive I need another beer when I heard him talk. I was just coming back. If those first 5 losses, that was a Sunday night, which bled into a Monday morning for me. So I have no idea what you're talking about, Moses. I was sound asleep.
I know. I'm trying to be nice, John. You know that.
Well, then, obviously, everything comes to an end, I guess, and you finally got to the end here with Washington. I'm trying to think. Your last year here was what was
1986.
You remember 86? You kicked the 86 season.
Well, part of it. I remember I got cut in the middle of the season. Coach Gibson let me go after the Dallas game. Remember, we got beat 33, I think, to.
Oh, it
was 33-9 or 33-10 or something like that. But I missed an extra point, and for some reason at that time our general manager Bobby was, there were a few of us he'd been trying to get rid of. You were one of them. You remember that he wanted to get rid of anybody that was here under George Allen, because and when we started winning, he wanted to be able to get the credit, which was okay. I mean, he deserved it, but he was kind of hard on some of the guys that were here under George Allen and some of the older guys, and I was one of them. He had been trying to get rid of, and so when the opportunity came, he jumped on it, because going into that season, I had just signed a new contract. And Coach Gibbs, when I beat out the last kicker, and Coach Gibbs called me into his office, he said, "Mark," he says, "you've made the team again," and he said, "But I don't know what's going on between you and Bobby, but," he says, "try to stay away from Bobby," because Bobby had been beating him over the head trying to get him to change kickers, and so I told him, I said, "Coach," I said, "I don't know what it is with Bobby, but," I said, I try to stay out of his way, but." I said, and I promise I will. But when the opportunity came for them to get rid of me, that must have been a little bit of a shock.
Did you know it was you could kind of tell it might be coming? Or were you like that season where you had I was slept 39. With one eye open, so to speak?
Yeah, I was 39 at the time, and they were bringing in. Remember, they drafted a kid that year, and I beat him out. And they were bringing in 2 or 3 kickers every year, trying to find somebody to replace me. And I just kept fighting them off. And that year, though, when the gate opened, I missed 2 field goals against San Diego out in San Diego the week before. And then when I missed that extra point, that opened the door. And so and when Wayne came in to my, that morning when I came to work on Monday, he said, "Mark," he says, but I told my parents, I had a feeling that something was going to happen, because my parents were at that game in Dallas, and after the game was over, I told Mom and Dad, I said, I think this may be my last game to play with the Redskins. And Dad said, "No, just go on and
do what you got
to
do."
Yeah, and sure enough, Monday morning they were, that Coach Wayne came down and got me.
But you ended up with Cleveland.
I went to Cleveland.
Was that almost immediately?
No, I was out 6 weeks. Yeah, I was out. I was out the next 6 weeks before their kicker Barr got his leg broke on a kickoff, and I was doing CBS TV though. I was out. I was in New York the day, and we were watching the game when he went down. And at the end of the game, we were doing the wrap up for the game, and this was the general manager years later was telling me this story. He said that I was with the owner, and we were talking about the game, and we were talking about and he said the owner asked me, he said, who are we going to get to replace Barr as kicker? And he said, I pointed at you on the television screen, and sure enough, I got a call while I was on the air. And Jimmy the Greek was on. He was doing it with me there, and it was I forget who the real talent was, but Jimmy was doing the stuff.
Musburger or that crew?
I'm trying to remember who it was.
Irv Cross?
Maybe it was Irv.
Phyllis George? You probably remembered that.
I'd remember Phyllis George, but I think it may have been Irv Cross. But anyway, when they handed me this slip, and I was reading it between the sets, and Snyder's he's sitting over here, and he said, "No, it's just some prankster." He says, "We get calls like that all the time." They wanted me to call them at the stadium, and so I just put it down. And at the end of the show, I started looking at it again, and Snyder said, he said, "That's just a prank." And I said, "Well, I don't know, maybe I better call and just make sure." So I got on the phone and called, and sure enough, it was the general manager answered the phone, and he says, "Yeah," I said, "We've been trying to get a hold of you. We need you to be in here tomorrow to try out, we need a kicker." So they brought me in. They brought 3 other younger guys in, 2 to compete, and and that was they were playing on Thursday that week, actually. It's the reason they had to be right in there, because it was Thanksgiving. And I beat out these other guys, pretty quick. You could pretty tell, and to the experience.
Did you know the Redskins are sponsored by Koch Industries? That's Koch, Koch. Their 67,000 U.S. employees make a lot of things that make game day better. Greener turf, they make that. Stronger paper products for tailgating, they make that too. And electronic components in TVs and smart devices so you can watch the Redskins anywhere. Yeah, Koch makes that too. See all they make for on and off the field at KOCHmakesthat.com.
You got to make sure your pipes are all in working order. So do yourself a favor. Call O'Connor Plumbing, 1-833-RIGGLE44. They'll do the job right the first time at a reasonable price. O'Connor Plumbing, 1-833-RIGGLE44.
Ladies and gentlemen, stand back and watch the Phoenix rise from the ashes.
Stand back. It's Riggo the Diesel.
What really solidified my Cleveland experience was the first game I played was against the Houston Oilers on Thanksgiving, or the Saturday or Sunday after Thanksgiving, and I kicked a game-winning 47-yarder at the end where the dog pound is, and it was a game-winning field goal right off the bat for them. And
like
so
a walk-off,
I was immediately accepted by the dog pound and all those people in Cleveland. And as a matter of fact, today they built that new stadium. They've got a wall of fame in the stadium that's painted on the walls. And I went back to a alumni thing a couple of years ago, and they've got that kick is on
Is that right?
Is on the screen.
So did you play? So you finished that season with Cleveland?
I finished with Cleveland and went. I was going to go back to them, and Marty Schottenheimer was the coach. Just before the draft, they called and said, "Mark," he says, "we need to draft a kicker, and we're worried that if we still have you on the roster, a young kid's going to come in here and be bummed out and not be able to perform, and we won't really know what they can do." He says, "Would you be willing to go ahead and announce your retirement?" I said, "Well, I guess so," because I didn't want to, start shipping my family all over the country to start doing it. And like I said, I had just turned 40, and it was time. I could still kick. I probably could have gotten a few more years out of it, but I just decided I had my business, the travel business.
You had the travel business.
I had the travel business. It was doing well, and I had planned for the time when I had to retire.
Yeah,
so,
you did a good job of that. You always had something. You had the clothing store.
Yeah, we had the Western Triple R Western. Eddie Brown and myself had that. So I had a great career. I mean, and to have the opportunity to play with the players that I played with, like you and Joe and, George Stark and the Hogs, and, I can go back and name, because I went all the way back to the beginning when we had the Over the Hill gang.
Right.
I was playing with Darren Talbert and Ron McDowell, Pat Fisher, Roy Jefferson, all those great alumni. And so I was very blessed to have had the opportunity to be here in Washington playing for the Redskins, under those 3 coaches that I played under.
Whether it's in the classroom or on the field, the Redskins believe learning should be fun. That's why we partner with youth entrepreneurs to bring their engaging, hands-on style of learning to classrooms in the D.C. metro area. Youth Entrepreneurs curriculum was created by educators for educators. That means it's flexible, fun, and absolutely free. To learn more about youth entrepreneurs and how to experience it for yourself, visit getye.org. And looking for another chance to win? We all are. $100,000 scratcher replay from the Virginia Lottery is just that, now through March 31st. Any non-winning Virginia Lottery scratcher offers a shot to win $500 in the daily drawing, or even $10,000. Now here's the lowdown. Any non-winning Virginia Lottery scratcher can be entered into a daily drawing. Each daily drawing, 2 players will win $500. Every entry in the daily drawing is automatically entered into the grand prize drawing, which is set for April the 7th. You got that? April 7th, one lucky player will win the $10,000 grand prize. All entries must be entered either via virginialottery.com/replay or the Virginia Lottery app. Fun doesn't stop if you don't win on your scratcher. So the whole story is here. If you have a lottery ticket, a scratcher, and you don't win, you could still have a chance to win.
Exactly.
So
you
don't
lose,
throw
but
them
you
away.
still can win.
Visit VALottery.com/replay for more information. The odds of winning the prize of $100,000 depends on the number of entries received. So I guess you're hoping for few, if any, entries. That raises your chance. Also, stay up to the minute with all the Redskins news, especially now during the offseason. Download the official Washington Redskins mobile app. Geographic and device restrictions apply. Data charges may apply.
Riggins. He's going to go all the way unless Blackwood can catch him, and he can't.
They left the scoreboard up. I remember seeing Redskins 27, Dolphins 17. And it was that moment of truth where I went, damn, I'm a world champion.
John, when he walked, he had a little bop to him. And besides that, he had the booty out there. They nicknamed him Chocolate Chip.
Story time with Riggo.
You look back on it, Mark. Is there a game that sticks out in your mind as what, for you personally, that was your finest moment that you felt like this is what I did it for?
Well, the one that gets the most notoriety was the one in 1983 against Green Bay on Monday night when I missed the sixth field goal. I made 5 field goals, and on the sixth one to win the game, that was at that time it was 47-45, and a field goal would win the game, and it was 4 seconds left on the clock, and it was like 1:30 in the morning, and I hit the right upright and missed it. And that's the only one. I went out 44 times in my career in the last 2 minutes of a game to kick a game-winning field goal.
44 times you went.
44, and I made 43 of them, and that's
Is that
the one.
right?
That's the one I missed, and everybody remembers that one. But the one that I really take pride in was the one I kicked against the Giants in '82, that put us in the playoffs.
And
that
it broke a record at the same time, didn't it?
It set the NFL consecutive field goal record, and it won the game for us, and it put us in the playoffs.
Yeah, well,
And we
home field advantage.
Yeah, and we hadn't been in the playoffs in 6 years, and that winning that game.
Well, that was the one that the team won the Super Bowl that year, right?
We went on and won the Super Bowl. So that was a big kick for me because, I grew up as a team player. Unfortunately, I think football and a lot of the sports have gotten away from the team aspect of sports. And for me, playing with my teammates and my coaches, I wanted to win, and I never wanted to let my teammates or my coaches down by missing something. Especially, that's why I considered myself one of the best pressure kickers because of that very reason that I never wanted to let them down. I wanted to make sure, and that's why you remember I used to run plays. I used to run the defensive, offense against our defense at practice, and anything I could do to help the team because I wanted the team to know that when Sunday came, if I missed a field goal, which I knew,
sometimes
I was going to miss a field goal, but I wanted them to know it wasn't because I was sloughing it off, that I was out there working just as hard as they were all the time, and that I was willing to put the time in, and that if I missed a field goal, it wasn't because of my lack of effort. And I think that's kind of where where a lot of the kickers today separate themselves out because they don't allow themselves to be a part of the team. But football has changed where it's more of a me sport than a team sport.
But
now.
it's interesting you say that, and I was something I wanted to ask you, and just by you talking about it, you brought it up. What was it like when you had to go in and, like you said, 44 times, 2 minutes could very well decide the game, or, sometimes down to where there were just seconds left on the clock. What does a kicker, or do all kickers, do you think all kickers think similarly? Or is it every man for himself? And if that's the case, what was your mindset as the game's going along? Are you on the sidelines hoping that it all turns out to where I get to be the star? Or are you going, no, get that first down, get that first down? Because I know how I operate. Like, get the first down. I don't want to go out there and mess things up.
Yeah, but I don't know. I always wanted it to come down on my shoulders if I could. That was just
Is that right?
I always had that good feeling. As a matter of fact, in the Super Bowl, had you not made that big run, it was going to be, I was thinking, well,
To tie it up?
we're going to have to have a field goal to get within a field goal to win the game, and then I would kick a field goal then, and then we'd get the ball back one more time, drive down, and I'd kick it, because that's the way the season went that year.
Right.
You remember?
Yeah.
I mean, we won out of the 8 games we won. I won 6 of them with field goals.
Right.
And one of them I scored all the points. Remember against St. Louis, 12. It was 12 to 9, I think, was the final score, or 12 to 7. And so, I knew. For me, though, Coach Gibbs used to get so mad at me, because when it started getting close to a field goal, I would come up and sit and get right up underneath him, and he used to tell me, he'd push me away and said, "Mark, get away." I said, "Well, I just want to make sure I'm here ready to go in, Coach." I wanted it to. I built my reputation on being ready to kick those.
Mr. Dependable.
Yeah, and that's because that was, to me, that was more important than anything else, was being there for my teammates.
Yeah, well, what's interesting is I'm thinking to myself that there are moments in time where all players that are out there, because the kickers are, even though you've got this theory in your mind, but they're still, they're not out there necessarily, if everything goes the way it's supposed to, in the mud and the blood and the beer. So there's those moments where, as an offense, you go down there, it's hot, we'll say it's in September, you get the ball all the way down there, you may drive for 70 yards, but you don't have enough to get it in. The field goal kicker comes in and misses
this
the field
nice
goal.
clean,
And
and this
go,
nice clean uniform.
and you're under your breath going, but then I'm thinking to myself, particularly in that game you're talking about with St. Louis, where you kicked all the field goals, you must have had one of those games when you're looking at the offense going, Jesus, what's wrong? It works both ways. I never thought of it that way.
I guess, but to me, it was just being able to do what I was brought there to do. Remember, Coach Gibbs used to always say, just do your job.
Well, all I can say, Mark, is A, thank you for coming in this morning, and B, it was always a great pleasure, and always, I should say more than a pleasure, it was a comfort to have you on the football team when there was that moment, the moment of truth when something had to get done and the offense couldn't quite get it done. You 90%, 99% of the time brought the mail home for us.
Well, I appreciate that, and coming from my teammates, that's what's the important thing. And again, those were great years for both you and I.
Yeah, they were.
And it's a shame. I'm hoping that our new coaching staff and the new group here are going to be able to bring those days back again. We need it bad. It's been getting kind of hard to make excuses for them. It's getting real difficult to have to explain why something happened and why they didn't win. And I'm hoping that we're going to get over that now, and the mindset's going to change, and these guys are going to start winning.
Well, we all hope that, and we thank you for joining us today, and we'll see you next week.
When you scratch and you don't win,
100K Scratcher Replay.
Say what?
It's the Virginia Lottery 100K Scratcher Replay.
If I scratch and I don't win, I could still win?
That's right. Now through March 31st, enter any non-winning Virginia Lottery Scratcher for a chance to win one of 2 daily $500 prizes or the $10,000 grand prize. Visit VALottery.com/replay for details.
100K Scratcher Replay.
Odds of winning a prize depend on the number of entries received.
Winter is the season for adventure. And if you want a car as exciting as your lifestyle, then it has to be an all-wheel drive Honda SUV. With more features, the CR-V has standard Honda sensing, more room for friends. The Pilot has seating for 8, more comfort. The HR-V has available heated seats, and more rugged. The Passport is built for adventure with ample cargo space and hidden storage compartments. Winter adventure is calling, and Honda is ready to answer. See your local Honda dealer today.
Dear customer service, I can always count on Novak. My power is always on, my payments always go through, and Novak actually cares about the community they serve.
Dear Novak, your electric costs are reasonable. Some electricity is from alternative sources, and cost reductions are passed along during the year. Thanks.
Novak, power you can count on.
Hi, I'm Darryl Green. I think true success is when you've reached a goal and have also helped others along the way. I'm a founding board member of Main Street Bank, a local business-focused community bank. As a community bank, you'll find Main Street bankers at your places of worship, at fundraisers for charitable organizations, and at civic clubs, teaching financial literacy classes and many other activities to benefit others in our community. I invite you to bank with Main Street Bank, mstreetbank.com. We bank where you breathe. Member FDIC.